Welcome to the Utah Street Banter Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode here on the Utah Street Banter Podcast. I'm Cody, and with me, like always, is Elijah. What's up, buddy?
Not much. How are you today?
Doing good, man. You having a good week? Everything going good?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, getting ready for finals in a few weeks, so try not to think about that and maybe think about a little bit more baseball.
Yeah, I feel you. So, wouldn't it be a shame? You fail your finals, but we have an epic podcast. I mean, that would work out, right?
I mean, I don't know because I kind of pay a lot of money to go to school, and I don't want to have to pay more to go an extra semester.
I mean,
unless that episode's going to make me a couple $1,000s, I don't think it's worth it.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. No, that's funny. Well, anyway, so, I mean, it's been a pretty crazy week in the Orioles realm. We went up against the Minnesota Twins, and then obviously Kansas City. We went back to Kansas City and played them for the second time, and it feels like a week and a half, which obviously isn't true, but it feels like they were just there. Now, currently, we're playing over in Anaheim against the Angels. So we're going to get started. We're going to do like we do every week and go through the box scores real quick and run through some of our thoughts from each game. Sound good to you?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So we'll talk about the first game of the series against the Minnesota Twins. And that was against Varlin, and we talked about that a little bit. Last podcast, we kind of ended on that. We did win that game 7-4. Dylan Tate got the win. Kimbrel got his 4th save of the year. So pretty good game. Like I said, if you want to hear more about that game, we did talk about that in our last podcast. So definitely check it out. It's right near the end, so you can jump on that. The game after that, that's Tuesday, April 16th. We faced the Twins again, obviously. We pulled that game out 11-3. Grayson got his 3rd win of the year. Still no losses. Pretty good record there, 3-0. Beating Chris Paddock and taking his ERA to an epic 8.36 ERA. But man, that was a fun game to watch as an Orioles fan. I really enjoyed that. We know it's not even the 3rd inning, and we're winning 7-0. So I think I could take that every week, right?
Yeah, no, it's honestly, I can tell you right now, if I was a Twins fan, I wouldn't have been happy. The fact that how many innings did Paddock get in? It was almost 6.
Yeah.
I think
it was one of those things where I felt like he was just trying to eat some innings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would have been a little bit more upset with Rocco Baldelli as the manager, just because you almost maybe say, well, you've given up over 5 runs, maybe take him out. But
yeah, I mean,
I'm not a major league manager.
Yeah, he went 5 and a piece of an inning, gave up 12 hits, 9 earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, 2 bombs. So it was one of those things where definitely a rough day for his ERA. He's going to work really hard trying to get that back down.
And yeah, no, Grayson Rodriguez had a decent start. 6 inning pitch, 2 earned runs, 4 hits, 6 Ks, and 3 walks. He did really good the first time through the lineup, facing the minimum through the first 3 innings. But he gave up a walk, and then Byron Buxton hit an RBI triple in the 4th to tally on 1 run for the Twins. And then in the 6th inning, he started off with a nice strikeout, but then Ryan Jeffers hit a double. Alex Kirilloff brought him in with an RBI single, but Grayson finished that up with 2 Ks to Buxton and Trevor Larnach. And then after that, Johan Ramirez came in and had his probably only solid outing as an Oriole, where he threw 1.2 innings, gave up a hit, and had a strikeout. I'm just being honest here.
Yeah,
I'm not too happy with the Orioles bullpen, so if you feel shade being thrown, it's deserved.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, you want to keep shade being, but let's move on to the next reliever that came in.
Yeah, Mike Baumann, he threw 1.1 innings, gave up 2 hits, gave up a run, had a walk and 3 Ks. Really, the struggle for him here was the 9th inning, where he gave up a leadoff walk and then followed that up with 2 singles from Trevor Larnach and Jose Miranda, who I have in my notes here in parentheses, Elisha's fun fact, because I just want to make sure everybody knows that I know the absolute most random stuff about baseball. And I don't know how many listeners are musical fans, but Jose Miranda actually, his cousin's Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is a playwright and has wrote songs for a lot of Disney movies too.
Oh, wow.
So, interesting stuff every day. Yeah, I'm sure, you know what, that's going to hit at least 2 people, and they're like, oh, really, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And that's what I do it for. That's why I'm here.
You're the best.
But yeah, so that scored another run, but luckily we had 11 runs, so it didn't really matter. But I don't know. We'll get to the offense because it's a little bit more fun. Every starter got on base. And
Every starter?
Every single one. Every starter got on base,
Okay.
but all but one got a hit. I know that's what you were looking at me like that for. Jackson Holiday he had a walk. He had a walk.
Okay.
I fact checked.
Gotcha.
Holiday remained hitless yet again, but everyone got on base at least once. And here, I'll just go quickly through only, what is this, 6, 7 starters, something like that. They all did really good. Henderson went 3 for 5, had a 2-run homer in the second, an RBI single in the third. Ryan O'Hearn went 2 for 5, another 2-run homer, but this was in the eighth. This was actually interesting. They had to review it to make sure it wasn't fan interference because Buxton went up to try, or I don't know if it was Buxton. I think it might have been Martin. Not 100% sure. It was in center field. But whoever it was went to try to rob it, and it was kind of grabbed out of the hands, but it was so far back on the fence they rolled it a home run. And he crushed the ball in every single at bat. And I'll get to him hitting the ball a little bit harder a little bit later in the podcast. Santander went 2 for 4, had an RBI single in the sixth. Cowser and Westberg both went 2 for 4. Cowser had an RBI single and an RBI ground out. Westberg had a 2-run homer, and then McCann had an RBI double in the second as well.
Yeah,
kind of landed on him.
Man, I tell you, it was something else. The only problem is, it seems like the Orioles like to do this. Is I guess we just scored too many runs because the next day we come out and we scored 1 run through the first 6 innings against the Twins, and it was a little tougher to get those base hits, get those runs in. But that wasn't the story in this game. Albert Suarez was the story in this game. My dude comes in, he's kind of a journeyman. Not even, I guess, yeah, he even wishes he was a journeyman. A lot of people know that journeymen are people that just, kind of move throughout Major League Baseball. I mean, he went to Japan, right? And, played in, just worked his way all the way back. Just did awesome, man. I mean, he went 5 2/3 innings with only giving up 3 hits. I mean, he didn't mow him down. He had 4 strikeouts. But, dude, he goes in there, gives you exactly what you need. His ERA is still sitting at a 0. He's also pitching, right now as we do this podcast, he's pitching against the Angels. But so we'll see if he can continue that. But he's really the story of this game. Until the late innings.
Until he came out of the game.
Yeah, until he came out of the game. Yeah.
He was doing great, like Cody said, threw up a goose egg. Hadn't pitched in the MLB since 2017, which is just crazy to think about. I mean, I don't know how many people can say you didn't do anything for, 7 years and then come back and do as good as you did. And like you said, he wasn't mowing him down. I think he threw 9 or 10 straight fastballs in the first inning. And it's not like they're 102. He's sitting 95, something like that. Just unexpected. It's exactly what the Orioles needed after Tyler Wells got hurt. So couldn't have asked for anything better. But our bullpen kind of let us down. Coulomb came in, gave up a run in his 2/3 of an inning that he pitched. And the 7th inning, came in, gave up a walk, and then an RBI single. Which you say, well, how does someone score from first on a single? It's a great question. I get it. It was Manuel Margot. He was fast. But still, I don't understand how he was running on the pitch, too. He took off the steal. I don't know how you can let up a single. It was somewhat in the gap. I think he should have been thrown out on our outfield, kind of handled it poorly, but that's a question for another thing. Then, Jake, there's just, what? I'm trying to stay positive. We're one of the best teams in baseball right now, and I just can only think of negatives. But Jacob Webb, he came in. He came in with a runner on first and gave up 2 singles, and he also gave up the lead. Made it a tie game. Or, sorry, not a tie game. Made it a 2-1 game Twins. And he came in, only got 1 out. Luckily, Aiken, Cano, and Kimbrel, they combined to shut out the rest of the game. But really what we're here to talk about is 2 at-bats in particular. You have Gunnar Henderson came in, lead off the game. Home run. Bomb. Could not have asked for any more from leadoff hitter. Crushed it. And the problem after that is that Pablo Lopez is really good. And we couldn't do anything for the rest of the game. Until he came out of the game because we can hit bullpens too. So Santander, he had a home run in the 7th to make it a 2-2 game. And then, like I'm sure we all know, Mountcastle singled in the bottom of the ninth, and then Mullins came up to the plate and hit a walk-off home run. And if I could play audio clips on this podcast, I would, because Kevin Brown's call of it was pretty funny. He sits up right before the pitch is thrown. He goes, and Cedric Mullins has never hit a walk-off home run before, and then he hit home a walk-off
until now, right? Yeah, I mean that was perfectly done by him. It's almost like he knew the script, right? So yeah, gotta love it. Sadly, though, we had some sad news here. We didn't get to play the Twins anymore. We went in there, swept them 3 games. Didn't really have to sweat except for that last one. That was really a bummer, because then we had to go to Kansas City and play a really good, a really hot Royals team. Like they're killing it. They're in the top of their division also. And they showed us why. You know what I mean? This game, the final score was 9-4. KC beat us. But I mean, here's my issue here. All right. So people want to get on Dean Kremer for the way he pitched. My guy went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 2 hits. He was still in a no-no for a while here, right? 2 hits, gave up 3 runs. And it was just that it just all blew up on us in that 6th inning, because he was cruising, and then he hit a wall. Then Aiken came in and made sure to just build the wall even bigger. Then Tate came in, and it was just like, I mean, if I was Hyde, I would just left somebody out there and just let them do damage control, because I'm just like, you know what?
I mean, let Cowser get on the mound or something like that. He's been doing so good hitting. Maybe he could do better pitching too. Yeah, it's just, like you said, Kremer, I'm not upset at all with what he did. Like you said, he gave up a home run to quite possibly my favorite player with a nickname in baseball right now, Vinny Pasquantino, the Pasquatch. Talk about a nickname.
Have you seen the Sasquatch that walks out in the outfield?
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Why can't we get a cow walking in the outfield for Cowser?
Yeah. Hey, we put a Chick-fil-A thing on it.
Chick-fil-A sponsor that right now. Yeah, Chick-fil-A sponsor that. But Kremer, like you said, he pitched almost 6 innings, gave up 3 runs. I mean, yeah, the 6 kind of got to him, but it wasn't terrible. What is terrible is, I don't know, I'm not a major league pitcher, but I would think my goal would, at minimum, be to not give up more runs than innings you pitch. So maybe when you get 1 out, give up 3 earned runs. That's not great. Keegan Aiken. But don't worry. Tate evened it out a little bit when he gave up the same amount of runs as outs, when he got 3 outs and 3 earned runs.
I think my most frustrating part in this game, because I know the Orioles, their bats are so hot, they can always get you back in the game. So we gave up 5 and I was ticked. But then Adley comes up, hits a grand slam, right? And I know you're getting ready to get into it, but then it's 5-4. You're like, dude, we're gonna win this game. You know what I mean? Like, this is the O's way. So, and then like you said, between Tate and Bauman, it was just, I guess Bauman, he did well. I mean, but between Aiken and Tate, they just tried to make sure that it wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, they said they didn't. Cambrilla told them earlier in the bullpen he didn't want to pitch, so they told him to make sure they blew it so he didn't have to come in for a save. That's gonna be my theory. They're looking out for their fellow bullpen mate,
and they did a great job.
Yeah, but like you said, Bauman did good. He had an inning and he didn't give up any runs. He had 2 strikeouts. That's pretty good. And then I know you're talking about the Adley offense and how our offense is normally pretty good, but we were pretty bad besides that grand slam. I mean, we had 3 singles in the 7th, and then that grand slam. But that was our offense. And maybe it's the part that we gave up 9 runs. I'm sure that doesn't motivate the offense very well. But it was just, I don't know. Luckily, we came out swinging a little bit better the next day.
Yeah, the next day, man, we go up. I was nervous about this game. You had Cole Reagans on the mound, and in my opinion, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. Big lefty. He dominated us back in Baltimore a few weeks ago. Obviously, we had Corbin Burns on the mound. Our superstar stud. So it was their guy against our guy, and luckily, we had a second inning because we go and score 7 runs in 1 inning. I know you're going to get to the details, but that was pretty awesome. We ended up winning this game 9-7, which is ridiculous. I'm sure you'll get into that too. But you score 7 runs in the second inning, you can almost I'll just go ahead and turn this game off because this should be over. But obviously it wasn't.
Yeah. No, and I'll start with more of the bad than the good because I want to end with the good. But our pitching yet again kind of failed us. You had a decent, not great. I'm not going to pretend it was great. But this is the thing. You can't be unfair to Burns just because of how good he is. If you're going to say Kramer did good by giving up 3 earned runs in 5.2 innings, that's what Burns did.
Yeah.
And yeah, he gave up 4 hits, 4 Ks. He was doing really, really good and gave up 3-run homer in the 6th and had to come out. That was kind of his only bad spot on the night, I would have to say. But really what's the problem is when you have Danny Coulomb, Johan Ramirez, and Yenye Cano give up 4 runs in an inning and a third. You can't really have that.
Yeah, I think everybody ended up wondering how Johan Ramirez is still on the roster after that game. If you watched it, he threw a curveball and it hit the infield grass. It didn't even get to the dirt in front of home plate. That I mean, you would yell at a 12-year-old for that pitch. And we got a major leaguer that he pegs Adam Frazier in the foot first pitch, and then the next batter he I guess forgot where the catcher was, or he was still with his eyes closed. Then the next play, obviously, they hit the ball to left field to Cowser, who just came in for Austin Hayes because Austin Hayes got hurt, and luckily Cowser throws the dude out at third to kind of save, and then Hyde couldn't get out to the mound fast enough to pull his butt out of the game, and put Cano in, and then Cano walks the first batter, and I'm just like, dear Lord, we were winning 7-0, and I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast right now, you're like, this is the game I'm trying to forget about this. Like, just tell me that we won, and and obviously we did, but it's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, and then like some good, I guess, is Aiken, Bauman, and Kimbrel. They had 2 innings that they pitched to give up no runs. But the only real impressive pitching thing that happened is Kimbrel. He got a save here, which actually is his 422nd save. I'll make sure we get to that later in the story that kind of happened with the ball that Cowser threw into the fountain. But it's a milestone that's cool that he could do in an Orioles uniform. And then we'll get to the good part, the part that we scored 9 runs. Should be more celebrated, but we only won by 2 runs, which is insane. It was really good. Every single starter had a hit. Henderson, Rutschman, Mountcastle, Santander, and Westberg all had multi-hit games. Arias snapped out of his slump and had a double. Like, where'd that come from? Anthony Santander had 3 doubles this game. And I just want to read through a little bit of the second inning here. Jordan Westberg had singled the lead off. Then he stole second. Austin Hayes crushed a ball that was a great catch by Hunter Renfroe in the outfield. Then Arias doubles, McCann single, Mateo strikes out. Then a Henderson single, Rutschman single, Mountcastle single, Santander double, Westberg single. Then they had to change pitchers. And then Hayes walked and then ground out. It's just, that's all 1 inning. And imagine if we could do that every inning. Obviously we can't, but it's just, this offense is so potent. And if you get just a couple guys hot, well, there are ways that we'll find to score. But, and then luckily we end up going into the last game of the series too, looking to try to win the rubber match. And we brought it back, winning 5-0 here.
Yeah, it was, I guess Cole Irvin listens to our podcast because he just wants me to shut my mouth about he's like, keep your name out your mouth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, my dude, look at me. He crushed it, dude. Like,
Swervin' Irvin sure did amazing.
I tell you, man.
I think you need to get like a Swervin' Irvin sign or something in your house.
You know what? If he keeps pitching like that, I'll do whatever. Because I said last time that he would probably never come on our podcast because I like diss him all the time. But dude, he went 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits, only 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. I mean, so it is what it is. But I don't care what you do. You almost went 7 innings and was shutout baseball. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm sure the bullpen will, end up giving it up. And they didn't. They didn't. I mean, this was the game that, we've been kind of dissing Orioles bullpen and kind of pitching this whole time so far. But this is the one where the pitching, that they won you the game. I mean, we scored 5 runs, obviously, but it's pretty easy to play or easy to win when the other team doesn't score.
Yeah, like it kind of gives you hope for this Angels series because their offense is much worse than the Royals, and we may be able to do something. But yeah, no, Swervin' Irvin, my man, I said at the beginning of the year, you can go back and find it on the podcast. I told him he was going to, I said he was going to do good this year. And I kept my mouth shut. I didn't say anything when he was doing bad, but now he's doing good. And what can we say?
One thing I do want to get to is, I know you're going to talk about offense, but let me just talk about, since we're staying on pitching, Seth Lugo pitched for the Kansas City Royals. He was 3-0 before this start, and he had yet to give up a home run. And I don't know if other teams look like this, but our 7 and 8 hole hitters, are studs, and they went back to back. That's Cowser and Westberg, and that was the first 2 home runs he's given up all year, and it just happened to be back to back to 2, young futures superstars.
Yeah, and I'll just honestly, our pitching did really good, but I am more intrigued to get into these 2 right here because Cowser and Westberg, like you said, hit back to back home runs. They are killing it. They're atop a lot of leaderboards this year in the MLB, and just. It's crazy how stacked we are. They're, like you said, batting 7th and 8th in our lineup. And I think in any other lineup, they're top 3.
Yeah, I agree.
Almost, except for maybe the Dodgers. Because, you're not going to bat one of them above Ohtani or something like that. But Cowser last week was player of the week. Westberg just won it for this past week. That's the only 2 player of the weeks that have been given out in Major League Baseball were Cowser and Westberg. And they are batting 7th and 8th. So that's kind of my thing, is that I know we have Holiday and I know he's struggling. I don't care. We can make up for it when we have some of the best hitters in baseball batting almost like at the end of our lineup.
Yeah.
But, again, along with those 2, you had Gunnar hit a double, but it kind of looked like a home run. They ruled it a double, though. Anthony Santander had a nice RBI, nice triple, and then Mountcastle had an RBI double after that. And then Westberg got walked and had an RBI walk. That's really all it was. It wasn't super flashy other than the back-to-back home runs. It was a solid game, especially from the pitching side.
Yeah, I mean, that's the lineup that you're hoping to see a lot. Yeah, I mean, you got Henderson leading off as short, Rutschman catching, O'Hearn's our DH, Santander, right, Mountcastle is first, Mullins center, left Cowser, third is Westberg, and second's Holiday. Like, when you see that lineup, there's a good chance to win. And it's just one of those things where you're just looking at that lineup, and I don't know, man. I don't see many holes at all.
Yeah.
Let me just talk real quick because we did kind of skip it because I'm talking about lineups real quick. So you just heard that stacked lineup that scored, what is it, 5 runs? Yeah, 5 runs.
Yeah.
Saturday's lineup where we scored 7 in the second. Okay. This is probably the worst lineup I've ever seen put out. And I was like, we may not score a run. Henderson always stud. Rutschman's always stud. Mountcastle great. Santander great. Westberg great. Okay, then Hayes, who was struggling. Urias, who was struggling. McCann, he's good, but he's our backup catcher. Mateo's at center. And you're just like, what the crap? And then we score 7 runs, and then you're just like, all right, well, don't talk about that in the podcast because obviously he knew what he was doing. He doing great. But man, I tell you what, it was a fun week. I was really nervous. I was telling you off air, I was really nervous with the Royals. I was like, they are a team that could definitely get us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they didn't. They came out. We took 2 out of 3, which we'll do that all day. We kept our season series not being sweep thing still going. But one thing I want to talk about really fast is Holiday. We don't really have many. We're not diving deep here. I mean, if you watch Orioles baseball, you know that my man, poor guy's batting a .033. Here's my problem right now that we're gonna have to start talking about. Urias is actually getting hot. He's hitting well. He's hitting righties and lefties right now. And you're like, well, we can let Holiday kind of, get better. Here's my opinion on this, okay? Because everybody likes to talk about Henderson and Rutschman. And I'm trying to give both sides of the coin here. All right. If you want my personal opinion, I'm not stressed about it. But if I want to be dual-sided here, your argument is when Henderson, Rutschman, Cowser, we sent Cowser down, but when they were struggling, we weren't meant to win. Like those weren't World Series contending teams.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, hey, remember them? We let them stay up yeah, but we were losing like 90 games or something, 80 games.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I could say that's kind of not against it, but just I don't think we need to worry. Since he's been called up, the Orioles are 8-3.
I know. And you're right. You're right. But every other podcast I'm listening to or on the news is they're talking about Holiday. Well, you know what? He's not hitting, but his defense is great.
Yeah.
I mean, then that's Urias. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my man won a Gold Glove, and I mean, he struggled hitting. So, but like I said, I don't want you yelling at me on. I don't want our listeners yelling at me on Facebook or Twitter or anything because I'm giving you both sides here. So if you want to come at me and say, "Hey, this is why he should be sent down or benched," I hear you. Like that's a good argument. You could probably give me a good argument. If you want to give me an argument on the opposite end, then I can probably listen to that too. So it's like I see a lot of bickering back and forth, but I think both sides have the right to. Well, not the right. I think both sides are right. I do. Do I think Holiday's a future stud? Yes, I do. I mean, I just don't know how many more times you can strike out. I just that's my problem. Like the strikeout percentage is just insane
Like,
right now.
and I think just from not looking at any statistics right now, this is just from
Yeah.
kind of the eye test, looking at what I've seen of him. I don't think it's a skill problem. I think it's a confidence and he's in his own head problem.
Yeah,
Because like he had bases loaded, one out one of the nights against the Royals. Comes up bases loaded, one out, and it's a full count, takes a fastball right down the middle. That's not a skill problem because he knows that he should swing at that and he knows that he can hit that ball. I think it's yet again, he is 20. He is less than 2 years older than me.
yeah.
And I think it's just gonna take time.
Yeah, I get it. Man, like I said, I mean, I do. We got to touch base on it because it's a top
Oh no, yeah, no, I know.
story for the O's right now. Which I wish it wasn't the top story. I wish people would stop talking about him and
Yeah.
start talking about freaking how
Couch
Connor
from Westberg.
Cowser's a stud, dude. Cowser is a stud, and Westberg is like the most. He reminds me of like if Westberg was a pitcher, he's like Max Scherzer. You ever see him? My man doesn't hardly smile. I mean, he is dead serious all the time.
No.
I love it. I mean, man, it's just so much fun to watch him play. I do think we have the Angels right now, and we're getting ready to jump into a pretty tough beginning of the month because we have the Angels, and then we have the Yankees are coming to town, and this May looks totally different in my opinion than April did. So we better come out hot.
Well, yeah.
But what?
I just don't know. I know we were looking at April at the beginning of the season and said, "Oh, this is a cakewalk." And apparently, we placed obviously we still did good, but who expected the Royals to be what they are? So this is kind of my thing. Is in May you got like the Yankees, the Diamondbacks, Toronto, Seattle, some hard teams. But then who knows? It's gonna be our luck. The Chicago White Sox, they're the worst team in baseball. It'll be our luck. They'll be on a 15-game winning streak.
Yeah, you know that, right? Yeah. Speaking of teams, man, we definitely hope doesn't get hot. Obviously, we played the Angels last night. Craig Kimbrell took over 7th place now in the saves category of all time, and the Orioles pulled it out 4-2. But the big story here was definitely Albert Suarez. My dude just came and shoved, just like the last time he pitched. Still has yet to give up an earned run on the season. Obviously, this is only his second start, but he went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 4 hits, struck out 5. Strikeouts numbers are a little better. He did walk 2, but no earned runs. Pretty awesome. Bauman came in, tried to get 1 out. He gave up 2 earned runs. Did what he does. And then they had to use Cano again for an inning and 2/3. And at the end of the game, Hyde was definitely saying that he wishes the middle relief would definitely step up because they definitely need him, and they can't keep using Cano for multiple innings. Jacob Webb came in, did well, and obviously, like I said, Kimbrell got the save. The big story here was obviously Albert Suarez, who is just a great story. Really shows you how the Orioles front office, their scouting department just must be amazing, But yeah, McCann hit a home run in the first, and Kowser hit one in the sixth. Kowser's just doing his thing still, man. Kowser's just on fire. Little bit of notes here too. Rutschman did go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Well, what a game! I mean, we're winning most of the game 4-0. And obviously, like I said, Bauman just let up 2 more runs, let them right back in the game. If you only look at the box score and you didn't watch the game, you don't know about the stressful 9th inning that happened, because that was Kimbrel gets bases loaded with 1 out, then strikes out the batter to get 2 outs, was still bases loaded without giving up a run. Then, of course, Mike Trout comes up to bat, and Mike Trout watches a fastball for strike 3 to get Kimbrel to save and to get Orioles their 15th win of the season. They are now 15-7. So pretty awesome. Reed Detmers was the pitcher for the Angels, who was really good. He was 3-0, and man, glad to beat them. We now are going to play today. We're facing the Angels again, obviously, but Griffin Canning is the starting pitcher. He is 0-3 with an 8 ERA, which probably means that we won't be able to hit him, because it seems like that's how that goes. But good news, we have Grayson Rodriguez on the mound. He's 3-0. Yeah, but you want to talk about our baby birds? Apparently, they went on a power surge, right?
I need to get into this. I've been just chomping at the bit waiting. I titled this segment, it's the Baby Birds Power Surge. And
Let's do it.
I don't know. I just kind of earlier today, when starting to prepare for this, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I don't know, what can we talk about today? What can we do other than talking about these games? I just started thinking, I feel like we've been hitting the ball really, really hard. And sometimes we get a lot out of it, but then there's also times where nothing happens because of it. And I was like, you know what? Let's do a deep dive onto some stats and see if I'm true. See if I was right. Apparently, I was like more right than I could have ever guessed.
Oh my
because
God.
I'm gonna throw some stats out here. I'm gonna explain the stats, explain why this is important, and explain how it means we're doing good. So the first one I have here is barrels over plate appearances. And so for those of you that don't know, probably a lot of us, I didn't really know that much. But so a barrel is what you might think is when you hit it on the sweet spot. But the technical term is when you hit a ball that has a combination of exit velocity and launch angle that averages at least a 500 batting average and 1.5 slug. That's really good. So this is expected numbers too. So it's not saying that if you hit the ball this hard at this angle, it's going to get you this. It should get you this, because who knows, Cedric Mullins is going to be out there and rob you probably. But we have 2 players in the top 20 of this stat, Ryan O'Hearn, Colton Cowser. O'Hearn is second in all of baseball at this stat, and it's basically just saying the amount of times that you barrel a ball in your at-bats, how percentage it is. This isn't a counting stat. It's a percentage, and he's up there with the likes of Ohtani, Bobby Witt, Juan Soto, Marcell Ozuna, and just it's insane. And as a team, the Orioles are first, and we're first by a landslide. We're at 7.3%, just the Orioles. The next closest is the Royals, surprisingly, with 6.8%. But there's a 1.4% gap between first place, us, and the 4th place team.
That's crazy.
So
and Ryan O'Hearn's one of those guys where we were talking at the beginning of the season how he might be the bust of the team, right? Like, remember we were kind of talking about how if there was anybody that was going to have that had just a hot year last year, that it was him. And man, now you want to see him in the DH slot as many times as possible.
No, and I saw something that I might agree with, and I don't remember all the players, but it said, is Ryan O'Hearn the next really, really good player that just peaked late? Think of players like, no, I'm not saying he's going to be this good, but you think of players like a Justin Turner.
Yeah.
Who remembers that Justin Turner played for the Mets and the Orioles before he went and did good with the Dodgers?
Right.
He was really bad, and then he found something. Right. Is that what we're seeing here, where we're seeing this later career resurgence? And if so, that's a great problem for us to have.
You know what he accredits most of his success with right now?
What?
The shift being like you can't shift anymore.
Really?
He's like that was the best thing that ever happened to me, mentally especially, but also because it opened the field up a little bit for him.
Yeah. No, because for me it's just I'm looking at how he plays, and it's just he obviously pulls the ball a lot, so I can imagine that would affect him. but he just crushes the ball every time he swings.
Stud.
And I'll get into another stat that he's also at the top of, and it's barrels over BBE, which is another stat with barrels, but it's instead of dividing it by your plate appearances, you're dividing it by BBE or batted ball events, which is anytime the ball is put in play, basically, whether fair or foul, it just has to result in a hit, error, out. So if it's a foul ground ball, it does not count. But if it's a fair ball that's caught for an out, that counts. And it's basically, this is instead of taking as a raw number of your whole plate appearances, it's taking the time that you put the ball in play. Are you hitting the ball hard when it's put in play? Yet again, O'Hearn and Cowser are at the top of this one. And it's just the Orioles are first in baseball in this stat too.
Yeah.
Another one I have here is hard hit percent, which is just basically how hard you hit the ball. It's we have 3 in the top 20 personally. It's Westberg, Gunnar, and Adley, and we're second in baseball. Another one that's much more of a counting stat is 95 mile an hour plus. How many balls have we hit that are over 95? Those same 3, Westberg, Gunnar, and Adley, are all in the top 20. And Orioles are second in all of baseball with the amount that we've hit.
Wow.
We're the first in exit velo. We have the most barrels, which I explained earlier, just means they're going to hit the ball harder and faster. We are 4th in launch angle, which would you like to explain for everybody what launch angle is and why it's important?
Yeah, so launch angle is one of those things that it's something that people like to argue this right now, especially with our youth. So, but launch angle, like the perfect launch angle they like is between 15 to 20 degrees, right? So that would be your perfection. You can go a little more or a little less, and it's all according to like how hard you hit the ball, if that makes sense. But if you would just imagine if you're standing, pretend you're batting, draw a straight line, just straight out in front of your belt and go straight, that's 0. Anything below that line's a negative. Anything above that line's a positive. So if you were to go take a line straight to your feet, that would be negative 100. If you would take a line and go right past your nose from your belt, that would be positive 100. Obviously, we don't want either of those. So 15 to 20 is what we call a level swing, but it's not a level swing because a level swing, if it was a 0, the ball would instantly go down because obviously gravity takes over. So we don't want that. We want something between that, 15 to 20, like I said, is perfection. So that's sort of, the easy definition to make people understand.
Yeah, and like he said, you want around that 15 to 20, and the Orioles have a 14.7 degree launch angle on average, which is the fourth highest in all of baseball. And I feel like this is a more complex stat than just looking at it, oh, that's close to 15, that's good. You kind of have to take into consideration, well, you hit a lot of pop-ups, you hit a lot of ground balls. It's just the more you're consistently around that launch angle, the more you're going to have productive at-bats that end with hard hit balls like we've been showing, like I've been telling you about, and how you're going to have it be extra base hits, finding the gap, home runs. Just basically, if you can find that launch angle, it's going to be more consistently good for you, which the Orioles have been doing. And all the other stats that I have not mentioned yet, all stats and percentages that involve hitting a ball hard and putting it in play, the Orioles are either second or first. We're no worse than second in any category. It's crazy to think. And just one example here is someone that we mentioned a lot is Ryan O'Hearn. He's the best expected player in baseball. He has the highest expected weighted batting average, which is taking into consideration a whole bunch of different factors. But he has the highest expected on base percentage, highest expected batting average, highest expected slug. Like he's what he should be batting a 381 right now.
Huh.
And he's batting a 268.
Yeah.
When that's not saying that that's just because good defensive plays, unlucky weather conditions, it takes into consideration everything. He's in the 95th percentile for average exit velo, 96th for barrel percentage, 80th for hard hit percentage, 90th for sweet spot percentage. He's not chasing the ball. He's got a 96 percentile on chase percentage. He's not striking out either. He's 97th percentile on K percentage. He's not really walking that much, but why would you want to? This is even the thing that surprised me. He's in the 85th percentile for base running run value. So that means he's producing runs on the base paths too. He is just he is probably the most underrated Oriole right now. Yeah. Because you have Cowser, you have Westberg, Henderson, Adley, even Mountcastle and Santander. People know who they are. Ryan O'Hearn is still relatively unknown and is killing it. And I know he's not playing tonight because we're playing a lefty. And I know normally he doesn't play against lefties, but he's even starting to hit lefties a little bit better. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to see.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, I'm really excited for him. That's just a guy that, what a resurgence. You know what I mean? That was a guy when we got him from the Royals last year. Like who would have thought, I think everybody thought he was a Norfolk Tide depth piece.
Absolutely.
But real quick, I want to get into a couple of my stats, if that's okay with you.
Go for it.
You're nerding out over there, so.
Oh no, go for it. You want to act smart because you don't want people to think I'm the only smart one.
No, I'm just gonna talk to my normal baseball fans here and talk about stuff that everybody else already knows. So let's talk about who has the most home runs in all of baseball. The Baltimore Orioles do. We have 34 home runs. The next closest to us is, believe it or not, the Red Sox with 29. But anyway, so we're leading all of baseball with 34 home runs. But you know what my favorite part is?
What's your favorite part?
Because as an Orioles fan, we're used to kind of leading league in home runs.
Yeah.
Just the past 15 years.
I mean, we're used to leading for all of history, basically.
Yeah.
We're the best.
But I mean, back when you had Chris Davis, Nelson Cruz, Mark Trumbo, we would lead all the time. You know what else we used to always lead in? Strikeouts. Okay. We're 23rd in strikeouts right now. Okay. That's amazing. Well, our strikeouts are way down, and that's awesome. Now, the negative of this is we are dead last in walks, because apparently we just decided, you know what, we don't walk.
We're too good to walk.
We like to walk. Yeah. So I mean, we only have 54 walks in the whole season. The next person closest to us is the Marlins, and they have 59. So it is what it is. Well, it also might be that pitchers are just they're just attacking, or we're just super aggressive. I think we're super aggressive.
I think it's that we're aggressive, but at the same time, I think baseball kind of coming into a more statistic-friendly place, and I think the people that are controlling the statistics for the Orioles are seeing what I just read to you, that when we hit the ball, good things happen. So it's almost better to say, instead of taking a risky pitch on with 2 strikes and maybe striking out, maybe getting a walk, though, you swing at it, put the ball in play, and something better will happen than just a walk.
Yeah. And we're 4th in all of baseball in average with a 264 batting average. And, so if you're going to come and argue the whole Jackson Holiday thing, my man hasn't got a hit in, a week or so. We're still, leading the league in everything. You know what I mean? So that's your argument right now. And as long as, everybody else keeps hitting. Next week, what we're going to talk about is we're going to do our April review and talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. And then we're going to do a May preview, talk about, what we got coming up, and especially some guys that we're really excited to see have another great month. So be sure to listen. Also, make sure that you like and follow us on all our social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and X. And be sure to follow us and give us a rating, a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and even Spotify. We definitely hope to see you next week. And until then, have a great week, everybody.
Yeah, see ya.